7 different winners have claimed the top step this season, and yet here at Le Mans, only 2 are likely to claim the crown. Both have never taken the championship, so for someone, it's going to be a very special day after today. Let's see who takes home all the marbles as we get ready to watch round 12 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is IMSA driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This behemoth of a circuit has a lot to go over. Let's head to our track guide to give you a quick introduction to it. Welcome to Le Mans. When you talk about legendary circuits, this is a place that stands among the most famous in the world. Part permanent road course, part temporary street circuit, it traipses through the countryside just south of the city where it gets its namesake. Its size matches its reputation as well, clocking it at 8.5 miles, which equates to roughly 13.5 kilometers. However, when you take into account that it's split by only 33 turns, the frighteningly fast nature of this circuit becomes clear. Most of the corners have been added over the century of history it's experienced, but many have become renowned and respected. The 2 turns at the opposite ends of the massively long Mulsanne Straight play equally important roles. Tertre Rouge requires a great exit in order to not lose massive amounts of time, while Mulsanne Corner takes bravery and precision in order to brake as late as possible and keep opponents from passing you on the way in. There's also hair-raising moments like the tricky entry to Indianapolis, or the close walls along the bridge section in the Porsche curves. To win here, drivers will need a very low downforce setup, a good sense of strategy, and heaps of bravery. The 24 Hours of Le Mans is the crown jewel of endurance racing, which many drivers dream of someday winning and many fans flock to witness in person. Once you've driven the track here on iRacing, it's easy to see why. Well, Joey, this place is legendary, but it's a bit of a return to the old form of this place.
You're right. No chicanes here at Le Mans today, so these cars are going to be running wide open for quite a bit of this lap time. And if you ask me, opening lap, it's all about surviving the first handful of turns, including that turn 1-2 chicane, and then getting out of turn 8 onto the Mulsanne straightaway. And pretty much from there, it's kind of like a Uno game, you know? Advance 1, go back 3, see what the draft train is going to give you. But 8.5 miles, 31 turns each lap out here.
That is the most perfect description I've heard in a while about racing on the Mulsanne without the chicanes. But let's take a look at the championship, because this is going to be a wild place to hold this finale since it's already going to be up in the air. It's Sebastian Tixier leading Bill Tyler after his finish ahead of him last week, but not a win, remember, because Mick Claridge came back and has taken the last 2. Now, he's supposed to be here today, and double checking. Actually, no, he is not. Excuse me. So just saw that it will be down to just these 2 indeed. So the good news is that makes it a little simpler for us, because it's mostly down to who finishes ahead of the other, especially if Tixier and Tyler are vying for the win. There's not enough points between first and second right now for them to not swap places. If it gets a little bit lower down in the points, then it could come into effect of who is going to finish ahead of the other, as Tyler got enough to try and take 4 points ahead of Tixier. But again, we'll address that as it comes. Mostly watch out for who finishes in front between Sebastian and Bill. We also have an F2 championship, Joey, and how is that currently?
Yeah, right now, Glenn Becker is really kind of out front right now, 313 points compared to second place Jeff Saunders back there at 273. But if you look, where the race is on today is actually kind of that 3rd through 8th spot between Andrew Ang at 246 and Jan Steffen all the way back there at 227. That's only a 20-point swing there between that handful of competitors. And today, that could go either way depending on who has the attrition out there on the racetrack or who can get a good finish.
Now, in the Nations Cup, it's also tight there, as well, excuse me, as the United States and the United Kingdom have only 2 points between them. Spain could still mathematically come and take it, but they'd need all the US and UK drivers to have a bad day today, so we're not really expecting that, frankly. It's mainly down to those two up at the front. From there on down, everyone's pretty far apart until you get to 7th, 8th, and 9th, where we could see some shuffling. So, main story, as is with the F1 race, is these top two. What about today's race details here, Joey?
Well, we mentioned it. We're here at the old Mulsanne layout, which means a pretty long lap, only going to be doing 10 laps, round 12 of 12 here. You mentioned the championship battles and open setups, just like how every round has been before. So that means each competitor will be tweaking and tuning on their car as best they see fit. No spare car out here, so any damage you pick up, you will have to carry through, and drive-through penalty at 17, disqualification at 25, and Joe, I think with the speeds that we're seeing around here, we don't have to worry about those incident limits. If people get tangled up, they got bigger problems.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one. It's mainly going to be down to just keeping the car with the roll hoop facing the sky for now, as we are in the midst of qualifying. But it takes so long to get around here. We don't have a single lap done quite yet, so it's still a hurry up and wait as Jim Shedlick is out here. Now, we understand that there's been some trickiness going on with the car setups, that some of the drivers have found a few key factors that have given them some speed in some areas, but not necessarily in others. Shedlick, we understand, has managed to fiddle with the tire pressures and find more top-end speed, but how is that going to affect him up here into the Porsche curves, Joey, where he's going to have to do a lot more turning?
It'll be interesting to kind of see the balance, and the whole idea is that you crank up those tire pressures, you have less of a contact patch on the ground, which means less rolling resistance. That means a higher top speed out there. However, when you get to these twisty bits, less contact patch means less tire on the ground. That means less grip through the corners. So like you're saying, it's all of that balance game. Where is it going to balance out?
I guess his strategy here is just I can easily get ahead of them, and if I do break the slipstream, then basically I'm home free. We'll see if it does work out, as Jim is about to finish his first timed lap. They are not, I believe, going to have enough time to get that second one in here, even though there are 4 minutes left, considering the drivers have to do, I believe it's close to 4+ minute laps. This is it. You have to get this one right or else. Xavier Sanchez. Oh, and now Sebastian Tixier has the provisional pole. So it continues to swap as drivers complete that first lap. John Olson looking good with third. Bill Tyler down in fourth, unfortunately for him. What about Shedlick in that number one as he comes out of the Ford chicane? He'll cross the line, and it's a 3:31.5. That's not going to be pole, but that'll put him on the front row.
Yeah, right there. Puts himself on that front row. And Joe, I think depending on when you cross the line, some of these drivers might get a second lap, but I don't think the majority of them will.
Yeah, so it's a little bit better times than I recalled. It's about 3.5 minutes, you're right, and we're already past that mark, so anybody crossing now has basically not got a chance. I do see Laust Olsen missed his first lap, but he's already on the Mulsanne. Here he is on your screen now. So can he get back around in time to set that time? Pablo Perez is not going to be able to get a second one, unfortunately. In fact, it looks like he's already taken both of his laps somehow. Not sure how that happened. And this onboard shows us just how long they're going to be on this stretch. Sit back, take a sip. It's going to be a while before he steers that steering wheel.
Yeah, you can literally make lunch out here on the Mulsanne straightaway, and it might be a little bit boring with just one car going around, but trust me, when you get this draft train going, all of a sudden this straightaway becomes very, very dynamic out there. And I'm looking at these speeds right now by themselves. I'm seeing 206 miles an hour.
And remember, this is in 60s technology, so imagine getting up to that pace in a tiny little cockpit surrounded by fuel, because the fuel tank tends to wrap around the driver in these old designs, so it'd got to be absolutely frightening if they had ever actually raced it. They actually did race at Le Mans in this car, interestingly, but it was on the Bugatti circuit, so it was very different to what they experienced here. Where they didn't have the straightaways to get up to quite that pace. Now, Olsen going to finish out the lap down into the braking here to some of the slower corners. But I can tell you that Xavier Sanchez, who looks like he's going to be coming back around to take his second lap, is not showing improvement, although timing and scoring gets a little screwy without many laps to go by previously. So I think we're going to be a little bit blind as to who's improving up until we get to that finish line.
I agree here, and just going to have to keep an eye on what I think is probably the front half of the field, because usually those guys, they get up on the wick and start going and qualifying. And I mentioned it, if you didn't do that, you're not going to have time for your second lap here. And here's Sebastian Tixier coming through what's known as the Porsche curves, and actually looks like on time and scoring, he is improving on this second lap.
Okay, so he could still have a chance to steal the pole away from Tixier. Can Heike360, as he's known for his streaming name, manage to steal that down to the Ford chicane? That gets slower as it progresses, and off to the start-finish line. He crosses, and it's a 3:31.7. That's not pole. It improves, but he stays in fourth place. Bill Tyler stays in fifth. Nieva is going to be in sixth position. Saunders improves. Robert Plumley goes up to P6 now. Tixier does not go any faster. And Shedlick has got just enough time. Maybe it's going to be very tight. 2-1-0. No, he doesn't get the second lap. So that's it. Our grid is set, and up on the top, Sebastian Tixier has the pole position. No bonus points for it, but he's got that starting position. Ove Trangrade will be in second, and Jim Shedlick will be P3. As I mentioned, Xavier Sanchez, P4 for him. Bill Tyler, championship hopeful, will be starting from fifth. After that, Robert Plumley, P6, and Nieva in seventh. John Olsen, P8, and Ben Zocco, ninth. Richard Watson will round out your top 10.
Laust Olsen there in 11th, Gerard Burrell in 12th, Jeff Saunders 13th, Glenn Becker and Gary Ho round out your top 15. Roberto Pengrazi in 16th, Stay Morris 17th, Michael Grissinger, Matthew Maudsley, and Cam Porter in the top 20.
Jan Steffen starts 21st, Don Peak in 22nd. From there, it's Paul Wilson in 23rd and Terry Traumahauser 24th, followed by Andrew Ang on the inside of the next row. And Jonathan Jordan is the last one to set a time in 26th. From there, Jason Clappers 27th, Kuzma Lesnoy 28th, Marcus Salgado, he's in a bad position down there in 29th, and Jana Lehman 30th, Joey.
Jamie Kingscott there in 31st, Cobbin Budd in 32nd, Kurt Clapper, Bjorn Ackerman, Tomas Tuba, Pascal Mikula there in 36th, Mats Linden, Asanjin, Richard Covington, and then Pablo Paris round out the 40 cars.
Whew, it's going to be full, that is for sure. And remember, it's standing start, so they're basically all the way back into the Ford chicane, almost to the second part of the Ford chicane there. So it's a little cool here this morning. It's only 10 a.m. virtual standard time at 68 Fahrenheit. And we just about have everybody gridded up. We're waiting on Pongrazi and Stay Morris. Then we'll be good to go. Only 10 laps. But again, it takes about 3.5 minutes to lap this place. So it will still be a full race, but you just won't see the same landmarks all that many times. Roberto and Stay are giving them a long wait out here, and we are going to go green before they take their way to the grid as they start to accelerate away. Ooh, it's a very good start here for Jim Shedlick, and he's already moving himself up to the lead ahead of Tixier.
Really good jump from Shedlick out front. I wonder if that tire pressure also helps on these standing starts as the cars approach the first chicane.
Well, with the pressures being lower, as we come down into the first chicane, Nieva is off. He had a long shot for the championship, but it might be over now because if he loses touch with that front group, I don't know what shot he has at being able to beat all three drivers ahead of him in the points. Shedlick leads, but for Tixier, that is not a worry right now. He is still ahead of his rival Tyler, and that's all he needs to do.
Yeah, you're right. And Tixier and Shedlick have kind of separated themselves a little bit from Bill Tyler and Xavier Sanchez and the rest of the pack. Going to see what kind of draft games are played if Shedlick can continue this momentum down the straight.
Right now, Tyler just needs to be within about 2 seconds of Seb Tixier. He will be able to pull the draft and get back to him. So if you see them separate, don't panic too much. They need a wide gap to really lose one another, as Sanchez takes a little bit of a peek, and that actually boxes in Bill Tyler. And here's where it almost becomes Daytona-esque strategy out here. This is going to be the Monza combined circuit on steroids.
Well, it was really interesting to see how far down the straightaway Shedlick was able to hold them off. And here comes this choke point, Joe. You were telling me the kink at the Mulsanne, a little bit of trouble point. You see Bill Tyler almost into the fence.
Perfect illustration of what I was talking about. I had a driver get very mad at me the first time I tried to make it too wide into there. He actually blocked me down the straight, and we almost had a wreck there instead. They do not like going too wide through that corner. John Olsen now in 5th position ahead of Bill Tyler, but they have still got pretty much everybody in this train for now. Caban Bud went a little bit off, but otherwise farther down the field, looks like very few cars had incidents and managed to get it woed up into the Mulsanne hairpin. Meanwhile, we come up to Indianapolis, which is scary in this car. Watch this.
Dance the front end and still get the thing slowed down, and all of a sudden, the change of direction to get it back turned left. Riding on board here with Sebastian Tixier as he still looks at Jim Shedlick, and then looks like Robert Plumley in 3rd place just had a problem.
Oh, and that took out Bill Tyler. Tyler has wrecked. The car seems to still be moving. He's getting it turned around, but is this the end of the story for him in the championship? He's taking a tow. It's damaged. That's it. That's the championship. And Jim Shedlick, all he has to do essentially is finish from here, because Tyler could still get points, but it's going to be hardly any.
You see Robert Plumley just lose it going into the slow right-hander, and gets on the gas and comes back into the racing line just slightly trying to save it, and that's where Bill Tyler was.
Just clipped him. I hoped that maybe Bill would have his Sebastian Vettel moment of being able to climb back a la Brazil in 2012 to try and keep the championship, but there's no such luck here today. He had to take a tow. He's going to at least be many minutes down, if not a lap down, waiting for that car to get back, and then even if it's enough to repair, I'm not very hopeful. Sebastian Tixier sits in 2nd. Jim Shedlick is ahead of him. And he is free to fight, but will he fight is the question.
Well, and I mentioned it going out onto the Mulsanne the first time. I was very impressed with how far Jim Shedlick was able to lead the group before the draft train kind of caught up to him. And now I know that was only lap 1, but next lap around, if he's 3/4 of a second out in front, it could be an even bigger gap, and we'll just have to see if he can actually break that draft train.
It's a wily strategy, but man, how it may have paid off here. It's looking awful close. It's 2/10 between Tixier and Shedlick, so surely he's got enough to try and pull him in as they get up to speed. They're already 185, 190 miles an hour here and still climbing as they fly down the straight. But yeah, you can see, despite being heavily in the slipstream, Tixier's not gaining all that much, but Sanchez is. He is on a tear.
And I think given right now, I think Tixier is waiting just a little bit, and you see Sanchez just use that slipstream to his effect and goes straight around both of them. But look at this. As soon as Shedlick is able to get up alongside, look at the top speed come back.
Wow, that's impressive. I've never seen that in this car. It's not an aero car like in modern days. They hit the Mulsanne kink once again, this time single file, so they can't trim out the car. All they can do is fiddle with those tire pressures. Critically, they were about 1.5 seconds ahead of Olsen, and he's cut it down to about a second, so he did feel some of the draft, but if he loses time here through the Porsche curves a little later, he might lose touch completely with this group.
Well, and what I just noticed is that Jim Shedlick went on to the Mulsanne straightaway in the lead and came off of the Mulsanne straightaway in the lead. Now, here comes Xavier Sanchez. He's going to have track position on driver's right going into Indianapolis. But once again, soon as they pull out, they can't get around Shedlick.
So it isn't that he could break the draft. It's just that nobody can get by him just on straight speed. That is unbelievable stuff here. Down through Indianapolis once again. We still have the top group all hanging together. You could take this probably down to about Richard Watson in the 8th spot. 8 of them together. We were kind of joking behind the scenes about NASCAR style racing. Do they try and work as a pack to see if 7 cars is better than 1?
Yeah. I think that if you're going to work as a pack like that, you got to be very careful just because of the shape of these cars. But you're going to have to come up with something on the fly here, because what you're doing is not getting around Jim Shedlick. And if you want to win the race, you got to do that.
This is one of the most bizarre situations I've seen. Oh, Shedlick's had a problem. Down into bridge, unfortunately, and he's going to fall back through the field, so he could be down to only 7 cars. And here you can see the Texan is going once again, so it wasn't bad enough that he had to head down to the pits, at least yet, but now he's stuck in a different group.
Yeah, there's Richard Watson down there, and I actually want to point out one of our biggest movers, Cam Porter. Now, Cam is usually a little bit further back in the field, but he's got excellent track position right now, and he's actually applying some pressure to the back of Laust Olsen for 9th.
Just behind him, we didn't see it, but Glenn Becker just went off. He just kind of went wide coming out of the Ford chicane. Again, loses the draft. That's going to be, I think, the big talking point today. Stay with the slipstream of those in front of you.
And just like that, Laust Olsen goes off right here in front of Cam Porter. This should allow the number 18 to go up one more spot. I would assume that Laust Olsen maybe has a little bit of a time penalty, or looks like he's continuing on.
He does have a time penalty. I can tell you on our timing screen, it's hovering above his head that he's got that black flag. So he's going to have to give it up. He can't wait too long. Oh, he's giving it back. He slowed it up enough in the S's section that he's giving it back. That is some phenomenal management right there.
It's all about knowing your surroundings, but look at this. Here comes that draft effect. Cam Porter going all the way out to the grass. You see him wince a little bit, saying, Laust, give me a little bit of racetrack here, but look out. You got 2 more coming behind you.
Wow. So the top group, remember I talked about how they're trying to get away, and we're going to go 3 wide. That can be a little bit iffy. It's a narrow track. This is basically on a regular street here that they're running right now. Oh, Olsen managed to overtake Shedlick. He used the draft enough. He is in front of him, but will Jim be able to easily breeze past by?
Well, coming to the end of the Mulsanne right now, he is hanging out in that 2nd place position and going through the kink with these 4 cars. Looks like they actually make it through pretty cleanly. All the competitors leaving each other a little bit of room, but you're right. John Olsen leads this race. Now Jim Shedlick 2nd, Sebastian Tixier in 3rd.
Okay, so Jim now running 2nd for the first time, I think, since that start of the race when he got off the line, better than Tixier. Does he easily take it right back? Or is he going to be content here, just riding along, knowing he has that top-end speed? He's looking for it as they come up to Indianapolis. Don't want to go too wide through here. And yeah, as you'd expect, Olsen backs out.
Already had him cleared, and that's the difference, Joe, is that when John Olsen and Tixier are drafting Shedlick, kind of like an uphill battle. However, when Jim Shedlick is behind, it's just put your foot down and drive right on by. You can even give him a wave as you go by.
Well, it's apparently going to be a bit of a Sisyphean effort for John Olsen and Sebastian Tixier if Jim Shedlick truly can pass them that easily. As we check back on that fight here, coming into the Porsche curves, where Jim theoretically should suffer a little bit in comparison to them. We'll see if they start to catch back up.
Well, and that's the whole idea behind that tire pressure game, is that you're going to have to give up somewhere, but really looks like the number 1 car is hooked up.
Yeah, he's not giving time back all that quickly through here. There'll be some more lost through the first few curves after we pass the start-finish line. One more long stretch, and then we return. John Olsen, one of those that has not won yet this season. Jim Shedlick has, and Sebastian Tixier has. So Olsen trying to make it potentially 8 different winners this time around, which I don't believe is the record. I think it's 9 is the most that we've seen. And yeah, coming across the line once again, Shedlick setting a personal best of the 33 flat. Boy, I see a lot of drivers swapping around, and apologies to them that we haven't really caught it all that much. But Richard Watson went off track yet again. Maybe those incident limits are a bit of a concern today.
Well, I think we were talking about it. Just kind of keeping this car pointed straight can be difficult, and when you have such big traction events, and it looks like Burrell had some problems out there in the number 12 car coming out of the first chicane, but it's old tires, old suspension technology, and like I said, sometimes just even pointing the thing straight down the racetrack can be difficult.
Well, and I know your feelings about treaded tires anyway, so as we come down the Mulsanne once again, and we jockey for position, trying to set ourselves up. What are we going to do here? Is there going to be a move for the lead, or is Tixier going to wait patiently? John Olsen is creeping in on Jim Shedlick. He's got the speed. He's got enough of it, and he's going to start to move ahead. But now that he hits the air, he is in front. But Tixier has no place to go. His partner abandons him, and blocking him off, Olsen just wants to get to that top spot. Oh, now he's starting to pull ahead as Shedlick lifts a little bit behind them. They've got another friend, Sanchez, along with Zoko, joining them, so they caught back up.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. Here comes Sanchez and Zoko, and I've been watching Ben back here. He's been hanging out in the second pack, but they've officially left that second pack, caught this group of leaders, and we've been watching the front three. I think it's going to be officially the front five now.
Yeah, looks to be the case. So you could say it's 6. Ove Trangrade's only about 9/10 of a second behind. From there, it's absolutely a break. It's 7 seconds down to Jeff Saunders, and they are going to have their own little battle. That's Saunders, Cam Porter, Laust Olsen, Richard Watson, Robert Plumley, Gary Ho, all vying for what is essentially 7th from here on out until we get a wreck from this lead group as they hit Indianapolis once again. This is lap 4. We're already getting close to halfway through this race.
And Joe, this might be the turning point in the race. Look at the running order right now. Tixier and John Olsen got by Jim Shedlick in a crucial spot on this racetrack at the end of the straightaway. Now, this should be Jim Shedlick's weak point. If they can start to gap it out, we might see the difference in speed. But look at this. Jim Shedlick has really worked on this car between the top speed and the handling. He's got a very fast race car.
He does, and that seems to have been to great advantage to him because Jim, I mean, he's no slouch, even if he didn't do anything with a setup. Oh, he almost gets into the back of John Olsen. The last thing you want to do to this car at this track is damage the aerodynamics because, yes, he's got the top-end speed, but if he crinkles that nose, he won't anymore.
Oh, and it looks like he got away with it. No damage on the front end of that number 1 car as he runs a little bit wide. Hopefully didn't pick up any time penalty there. I know that iRacing doesn't like it when you run too wide.
Glenn Becker, he's vying for the F2 championship, remember? He's got to still finish decently. What kind of damage did he do to the car in this wreck in the Porsche curves? Let's take a look at the replay. Let's see, did he just get loose here?
He just went in. Oh, no.
Oh, got into the 22.
Same thing that we just saw out of Shedlick. Just a little bit of misjudgment and speed, and it's actually a pretty big wreck.
Yeah, and how hard does he clap the wall? Ooh, that's right into the suspension. And he's very slow. Oh, boy. Okay, so I got to dig out my little math cheat sheet here. Becker needs 30th or better to clinch. He's 32nd right now. He's coming down into pit lane. And now I got to see who he's even trying to hold back here because it was such a foregone conclusion. It's Jeff Saunders he needs to worry about.
Yeah, Jeff Saunders is actually having a very good day. He's the lead car in our second pack right now, running 7th place.
Okay, so there is a realistic chance that Saunders could upset the F2 championship at the last race when he came in, I believe it was 40 points back. That is going to be truly disheartening for our F2 points leader as we take a look at Jeff Saunders now. That's Laust Olsen with him, Cam Porter, who's side by side with him, Richard Watson still in there, and then Robert Plumley. It's the drivers who have had nothing but action so far in this race in this second group. Oh my goodness. Oh, 3 wide again.
This lead battle has been a race, Joe. And I was watching. Look at this back here for 8th place.
Through the kink, and they manage it. How did they get through there? Unbelievable stuff. That is bravery from these guys. Porter leads. He's trying to leave them behind. He doesn't want to deal with any of this madness. Saunders is just ahead of Watson, but for how long, as he has to give space down at the apex into the Mulsanne corner. And it looks like Watson's going to get into 8th, but that won't mean a lot, as we can see, because it is going to switch back around. Tixier's going for the lead with Shedlick up at the front, though. Action everywhere you look. And as they break into the Indianapolis kink, it looks like Tixier will hold him off.
Now, I was watching the ebb and flow of the race up front, and Tixier had almost a 1-second lead going out onto the Mulsanne this lap, Joe, but Jim Shedlick just rode it right back in, took the lead down the Mulsanne, and then Tixier kind of draft battled back. So Shedlick, despite coming out on the Mulsanne in 3rd place, still has the speed to get to the lead.
Oh, Watson is off down in Arnage. Looks like he's going to be able to make his way back to the track, but he's lost that second group. So one less in that battle for 7th. That's what Saunders needs to watch out for here. Essentially, I believe Saunders just has to take one of these top 10 positions. That might do it. I'll double check on the points, but we don't have Glenn Becker back out yet. He's still in 34th. If he loses a lap, he can just about say goodnight.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch that because Gary Ho is right on the back of Jeff Saunders. So Jeff Saunders may be in an easy position for the championship, but all but easy out on the racetrack.
So a top 10 is, oh, there you go, 41 or more points. So yes, that's exactly what Jeff needs to do here. That top 10 should get it done or close to it. Now, it's going to be a little bit tight since Glenn Becker isn't going to score 0 here. He still scores points with 33rd. We'll check that later on in the race when we get a better picture as we're riding on board with Laus Tolson in 8th spot. Also, unfortunately, falling away from Cam Porter by about 1 second. So let's, why don't we, unless something happens with that top group, let's watch and see how quickly that second comes down over the course of the Mulsanne.
Going to shrink very fast. And you got me going with that points battle, Joe. And I'm looking, I know that Glenn Becker is stopped right now, but Bill Tyler is actually back out on the racetrack, so that could be one more position that Glenn Becker potentially loses.
Wow, that's a good point. Yeah, and Jonathan Jordan also has come back out on track after losing the position. Here we go. We're on to the Mulsanne. That little speck up at the front is Cam Porter just in front of us. Both of our camera cars, interestingly. And here he goes, just casually scratching his chin, checking his relative box, and slowly but surely, that little speck now becomes the shape of a car.
And I'm sure if we had Cam Porter, he'd be looking in his mirrors. You see Laus glance over at his relative every now and then, make sure nobody's coming up too close behind him. And here we're approaching the kink, going by what is known as the second chicane, already made up that 1 second gap.
Going a little bit wide. Yeah, look at that. Already there and ready to fight him. He's going to go for the position. But remember, it's a bit tricky down into the braking of the Mulsanne corner. You can see the noses dip and how early they have to get on the binders before they even get to the turn-in point. And he's going to be ahead of him. Now, we didn't miss a whole lot with the leaders, but Shedlick is back ahead with Sanchez second and Tixier in third. So they have swapped around a little bit, but it's looking a bit more calm than before.
Yeah, a bit more calm. It's kind of Sanchez and Tixier trading blows into Shedlick right now, just saying, hey, let's try this one, see what happens. But no matter what the number 4 and number 2 cars throw at our leader, Shedlick always has a response.
So lap 6, it'll be 4 to go at the line. And still have 6 drivers up with a realistic shot at the win. Those 6 are Shedlick, Sanchez, and Tixier, obviously. John Olson, Ove Trangrade, and Ben Zoko. So who will come out in front? Will it still be 6 by that final lap as well?
Well, and one thing's for sure is these laps have started to dwindle down, Joe, is that I know that we've said it's a pack of 6 up here. Every lap, they're starting to get more and more condensed here in the last half of the racetrack.
And of that top group, Zoko Trangrade, John Olson, and Xavier Sanchez have not won a race yet this season. So there's a good shot we'll get that 8th winner. Just statistically looking at it, it all depends on what's going to happen here with Shedlick. If Shedlick takes it, he'll become only the 2nd driver this season to get more than a single win. So it's all been very fascinating from many perspectives in this finale, as the 7 of Laust Olsen has had problems down at the Ford chicane, and he will lose touch with that 2nd group.
And gets a point in the right direction. Right now in 9th place, comes out just in front of Jorge Nieva, but you already see the number 9 car moving out driver's right, going to try to get around Laust going into turn 1.
Actually, that 2nd group dissipated. Cam Porter and Jeff Saunders are about 2 seconds apart. Nieva's 5 seconds behind them, which is actually, that's exactly where Laust Olsen wound up. So the 2nd group is now from 9th on down, interestingly. And Saunders probably happy to be up on his own and not having to fight those guys, because that 8th position is now essentially locked in as long as he doesn't have some sort of mistake.
Well, and Cam Porter doesn't have much. He's 15 seconds back from this lead group, who we see is too wide once again down the Mulsanne. And a name I want to bring up right now is Ove Trengrade, hanging out there in 5th place because he's gotten around Ben Zoko, and he's slowly picking them off one by one up here in this lead group.
Yeah, he's now pulling along behind Sebastian Tixier here. And it goes back the other way as they go too wide, NASCAR style, through the kink, and somehow manage to hold it out. They look for the braking coming into Mulsanne corner with Shedlick leading the way. Tixier is going to have that 2nd spot. Sanchez in 3rd. Almost interesting how it seems like they try to brake so that they can zipper together down into that corner.
I think that's a great strategy, and if these competitors are trying to be friendly with each other, meaning they all want to play on the same playground, you have to get along with each other.
Yeah, exactly. They want to get to the checkered flag here, and we're going to go side by side yet again. Tixier is trying to get that win since he knows he's basically got the championship wrapped up. Becker might be out on track, or Tyler might be back out on track, but he is 3 laps down. So Tixier is sitting pretty here. And as long as he doesn't make a stupid move and destroy the car, he's good to go. Meanwhile, as they exit out of Arnage, your order is Tixier, Shedlick, Sanchez, Trangrade, Olsen, Zoko.
I've still got my eye on that number 8 car. He got by John Olsen there that time on that lap, and still Shedlick hounding the back of Tixier out front. But something else I'm noticing about Ove, he qualified 2nd today, so he didn't have the best start. He's had to work his way back up here, so I'm not going to count him out of it one bit.
Checking to see how many points are scored. 17 points for 34th place, which is where Glenn Becker is right now. It's 43 points for 8th place. I don't think that's going to be enough. It's going to need to be a few more positions, or Glenn Becker is going to have to lose a few more positions before we see Jeff Saunders able to take the championship. So it's close, but it's still not a foregone conclusion as we continue to watch the front group complete lap 7 and now into lap 8. So 3 to go at this point. And still, we haven't lost any for some time. They've definitely calmed down. They've realized that they got to just keep it together to get to the finish. But expect that last lap to absolutely explode.
Yeah, I think it's going to explode. And keeping it together until the finish, you mentioned Glenn Becker in this points battle. He's doing what it takes right now. He has actually fixed his car. He's back out on the racetrack, so he's trying not to hemorrhage any more potential positions.
The car looks super slow, though. I think he just did whatever required repairs he needed. And, he might be coming to a halt here. He's slowing down.
I saw him miss the chicane here this lap, and these laps are pretty long. I think we've actually got the leaders coming up to him right now, so we got to be careful about where he puts this car on the track.
He's going about 116. Okay, he did a great job timing it out so that he could stay off to the side here. So he can go a little... Okay, yes, he can go faster. He just saw them and wanted to stay out of the way. And he's up to about 160. Okay, I thought maybe that he was slowing the car down to retire it. The leaders are going to swap around once again, and the man who loves to race side by side, Ove Trangrade, is going to try and go by Shedlick. He is the absolute fly in the ointment in this situation because Ove does not back down for anybody.
And look at Zoko with this huge run, was doing 215 miles an hour back there in the 5th place. It just shows you how strong that slipstream really is.
Just unbelievable. I believe that's about 10 miles an hour faster than what you can do alone out here. That is just amazing. That's a pretty good speed advantage as they go back single file briefly, and then it erupts all over again. Trangrade gives it another shot.
And things are starting to heat up, Joe. You said maybe 1 lap to go or final lap, but this front 6 looks like almost 3 wide through Indianapolis.
Ooh, and that was Sanchez, who went way wide off into the runoff, but manages to get away with it. And Tixier also having a little bit of problems there, just touching the gravel, coming through Indy. And then out of Arnage, he sits in 4th position. Remember, what he really needs to be worried about here is not wrecking the car. Although I say that, we're less than 3 laps to go when we cross this time. This lap will clinch it. Bill Tyler cannot do anything to overtake him from here because he's 3 laps down.
You know, it's such a hopeless feeling out there if you're Bill Tyler, just getting caught up in an incident earlier on in the race that you were just trying to mind your own business, and now all you've got is yourself to listen to out there.
Yeah, just it's got to be a lonely one. Now, he's got the Buffalo on the side of his car, which I'm assuming is a reference to the Buffalo Bills since he's a New Yorker. But for now, he's slowly going the way of the Buffalo in this championship, unfortunately. And it's going to be Sebastian Tixier finally getting the first one. Once he crosses this start-finish line, that will be it. And there's your moment right there. With that crossing, as unassuming as it is, after seasons of trying, even just to get a win, Sebastian Tixier is now crowned champion.
Well, congrats to him, but if you were to ask him right now on the radio, I think that's the last thing that he's trying to do is worry about that championship. He wants to go home and take home a checkered flag today.
Yeah, now he is free to fight. Doesn't matter what happens from here. He can't be beat by his rival. So let's might as well go for that second win of the season as they come onto the Mulsanne once again. Trangrade leads, and he gets a bit of a gap over Shedlick that time. It was about 0.8 of a second. That's not going to be enough, but interesting that Ove is able to run away from them that well.
I totally agree with you. Not enough to run away from this draft train. You're going to see him just all slowly get to gather that momentum up. I'm seeing Ove 201, Jim Shedlick 211, Xavier Sanchez 214, Tixier 218.
There goes Shedlick, 212 miles an hour as he blasts past. But here's the thing, though. If Trangrade is able to get ahead of them, I'd say by, let's say, out of Arnage in Indianapolis, if he's that fast in the twisty bits, then basically it's Ove. It's over. He's got the win. And side by side, Tixier versus Shedlick. Tixier has the advantage. Sanchez trying to poke his nose in as they come up to the braking for Mulsanne corner once again. And as we saw, they're still kind of playing nicely together for the most part down into this braking zone.
It was Ben Zoko coming in again, Joe. 219 miles an hour. He came in at the end of that party and said, "Excuse me, cutting in line."
As long as he doesn't come in like a wrecking ball, we're all good here. So they're going to get the white flag next time by, and it is still 6 cars in a realistic shot to take the win here today. It's Jim Shedlick blasting past down to the braking of Indianapolis over Tixier.
Oh, Zoko, real big power move around the outside of Indianapolis to hang on to that 4th place position. And Joe, I think that Trengray learned a pretty hard lesson this lap. He was so far out in front going on to the Mulsanne, he got swallowed up, and now he's nowhere.
So it's gonna genuinely be down to timing in this race. Can you set yourself up in the right position? Can you time it right to be in the right spot so that Jim Shedlick doesn't have an opportunity, or potentially Ove Trangrade as well, who may not be as quick in a straight line, but is mighty through the rest of the circuit, down through the Porsche curves. It's not the last time through here, but Shedlick leads, Tixier second, Sanchez third, Zoko up to 4th. Zoko, I think he's got something up his sleeve. Like you said, he's been making moves and being really savvy about how he plays this.
I totally agree, and he could be the wild card in all of this as you see Tixier run a little bit wide, but it all comes down to what you said, Joe, is the timing. I couldn't say it better myself, is where you make the pass, not when, but where.
Coming out and past the start-finish line, white flag is out. Shedlick will lead this one, but will he be in the same spot? Tixier takes the fastest lap. Going to be a bit of a pointless stat in this race with how much slipstreaming is going on out here as they come down into the Dunlop chicane. Nobody making moves. Everybody is thinking later on. Look at that. Even Tixier, who had a big run out of the corner, lifted.
Yeah, he says not right now. Now is not the opportune time as see Sanchez crawl over the back of Tixier, and this is the closest the 6 have been heading out onto the Mulsanne.
All the working together, all the drivers trying to preserve the cars. Throw that out the window because now we hit the Mulsanne on the last lap. Oh, did Tixier get a slowdown?
He must have.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. Maybe he's just trying to time it right. This is a long ways back from Shedlick.
It is. I'm seeing 1 second back right now, and look at this. Shedlick is trying to move around to break any sort of draft, kind of give it to neither lane behind him, but looking still about 4 miles an hour faster for this group of cars.
They're approaching. It is still coming down 10th after 10th as they reel in Jim Shedlick's number 1 machine, but did they time it too late? What are they going to do here? Shedlick can't give it back from here. He has to try and hold on to this position, so he's kind of stuck in no man's land. He has to just wait and see what happens.
And it's kind of NASCAR. You got to play both lanes right now if you're Jim Shedlick, and we're 3 wide behind Sanchez. Sticks it up through the middle. Is Zoko going to look down the inside? No.
Sanchez brave on the brakes, but can he make the corner? Look at Zoko come back at him in the second phase of it as they all nearly go wide down through the hairpin, slipping up. Tixier collects 3 of them.
It was the number 2. Tixier couldn't get the throttle down and fishtailed it coming out of the corner. Takes out a few.
Sanchez and Trangrade get collected. It is now down to Shedlick, Zoko, and Olsen. Again, only one of these drivers has had a win so far. Oh, and a big check up there for Ben Zoko. Is he setting something up? Does he think he has enough on the run from Arnage to Porsche Kurz? It's a bit of a shorter stretch, not usually considered a place to slipstream by, but does he have it?
And remember, this is the point on the racetrack that Shedlick should be a little bit slower, but he has been fast all evening here. Does he have what it takes? Just a few turns left.
Not sure if that was Tixier that we saw. And is Cam Porter up to 6? Cam Porter is up to 6th position and climbing because of other drivers having issues here at the end of the race. Shedlick still leads. Zoko could not catch him. I think that might have been the nail in the coffin. Jim Shedlick has pulled a master stroke on setup here today and overtaken enough cars, put himself in the right position as he started from the front row and is about to take victory here in the last race of the season. Zoko looks like he has no answer. We thought Jim would not have enough grip through the twisty bits, but it wasn't to be as they come down into the Ford chicane. Jim Shedlick has fought off all comers, and he is going to take the win here at Le Mans for the finale as Tixier is trying to come home and take the championship, but it's going to be a bit of a damp squib of a finish for him.
Yeah, Dixie, I can't keep the car straight, and I think that Cam Porter is going to come home with the top 5 here today.
He is. He's caught up to Richard Watson, and Laust Olsen's behind him. Richard Watson as well. Nice job to him, up 6 positions to 4th. Cam Porter up 15 for this top 5, and Laust Olsen in 6. Tixier is still crawling his way home. This is for pride, I'm pretty sure, for him. He knows that he could have just quit this and he'd still get the championship, but he wants to cross that finish line.
Yeah, and you see him. Does he come down to pit lane? No, keeps it out on the racetrack. Gonna take that champion's way through the chicane, shortest distance to the checkered flag.
I mean, it's going to give back the time, so I think it's not a worry for him for sure. One wheel in the air, that's how damaged the car is. And what place is it going to finish in? It's going to be 16th for Tixier to take the championship. A little strange compared to what we usually hope for a champion's run, but still, I'm sure he is grinning ear to ear, know that he has finally done it after almost years of trying at this stage for the number 2 car. But Shedlick is proud of what he's pulled off here today. Only the second driver this season to get more than 1 win, as the rest of them cross the line, some of them limping there like we saw our now reigning champion. And we're going to take a quick break as we wait for them to wrap it up. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Le Mans after a stunning season finale for the Grand Prix Legends Series. Jim Shedlick took the win, but Tixier took the championship. It'll take us a bit before we get to his finishing position, though, as Shedlick had to fight off so many cars, but still managed to use his little trick with the tire pressures to take the victory. Ben Zocco was P2, and John Olsen rounds out your podium. Didn't talk a lot about Olsen there at the end, but he was still definitely with a shot. Richard Watson gets promoted up to fourth because of all the chaos there in that front group on the last lap. Cam Porter gets a top 5, gaining a ton of positions to make his way up from 18th or 20th rather on the grid rather. Laust Olsen finished 6th today, and Jorge Nieva was 7th. Jeff Saunders, despite the 8th place position, might have been his best of the season. He did not take the championship. That's going to go to Becker for the F2. It was Gerard Borel in 9th and Marco Salgado from 29th to 10th.
Impressive run there. And then Gary Ho in 11th spot. Michael Grissinger 12th. Kuzma Lesnoy there in the 13th. Bjorn Ackerman, actually it looks like our biggest mover, up 20 positions for Bjorn Ackerman to finish 14th. Andrew Eng there in the top 15. Sebastian Tixier, your championship winner, after having those problems on that last lap, comes home 16th. Doesn't really matter for him, though. Terry Traumhauser, 17th. Tomas Tuba, Pascal Mikula, and then Kurt Clapper rounding out the top 20.
21st was Mats Linden Isongin in the 22nd spot. Caban Bud in 23rd. Jan Steffen finishes P24. Richard Covington in 25th. Gained up from 39th spot. Very good job to him. Robert Plumley went backwards, unfortunately. 26th was Stay Morris. 27th. Last driver on the lead lap. Xavier Sanchez didn't get to finish the race, unfortunately, being caught up in that wreck. So did Ove Trangre, 20th and 29th for them. And then Pablo Paris wound up 30th. From there on down, it's DNFs and drivers who had to trundle their way home after severe repairs. So from here, let's take a chat with our winner first, Jim Shedlick. And Jim, we understand that you got a little clever with the tire pressures to get yourself some top end speed. I'd say the win is a success, but what is your assessment after that battle for the victory?
Oh man, yeah, what a race! Though, anytime at Le Mans, it's going to be quite the draft battle. So a couple setup changes. I went a little bit of a different direction than some of the other drivers I thought would be at the front. Just took a little bit of a risk, and at the end, the car was not very easy to handle when I wasn't on the straightaway. But it was great in the straightaway, and looked like that paid off in the end.
We were wondering about that. We figured that you'd be caught in some of the twistier parts of the track, but that didn't seem to be the case. I mean, did you feel, at what point on that last lap did you feel certain that you had it wrapped up, or was there never a point where you said, this is it?
Never certain, just because there are so many spots where you can pick up an easy slowdown penalty, and just had to really keep on top of it. But my goal was, I'm not sure the names of the corners, but after the second long straight, that I needed to be in the lead after that. That's after several laps of trying different things. I realized whoever led off of that kind of series of corners was probably going to win the race. So that was my goal. And once I had to lead out of that complex, I felt pretty good.
Well, congratulations. But the bad news for you is that now that the genie's out of the bottle, everybody knows the trick. So we'll see what next season looks like.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think it's an option at these tracks, but it's not. It wasn't necessarily the best thing all the time, because it made me really hard to be passed in the long straightaway. But I was kind of set up then to be passed in the next straightaway, and that wasn't necessarily good for me. So it's an interesting trade-off. It's not necessarily a panacea.
Well, congratulations, Jim. Only the second driver this season to get more than a single win. I can't wait. Hopefully, will we see you next time?
Yeah, I'm just continuing on with just kind of sporadic starts here and there, some of the more interesting tracks. But I always enjoy running the series and battling out with some of the great competitors here.
Good stuff. That's Jim Shedlick with the win. Up next, though, we have our newly crowned champion. Joey has caught up with Sebastian Tixier.
Mr. Tixier, do you have the champagne ready? You are the series champion.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I wanted to have some confirmation from Rob, but I think maybe I did. I will pretend I did.
Yeah, well, with Bill Tyler's problems there early on, pretty sure you will be the series champion there. And how was the race today? I know that you guys were having a huge draft train up front, and it looked like a huge fun pack.
Yeah, I listened to the Jim interview. I knew that trick is just that I don't think it was a good option. It was fast in the straight, but I could see that, especially I think it's Corvette corner. I think it was like a sliding, and if I was if I was timing my overtake correctly, I was able to go faster. Like he could stay on the side, but then I can just brake better because with less tire pressure, it's you have more grip. At the beginning, I didn't wanted to take any risks, so I was just staying like in the front. And at some point, I saw that Bill had an issue, and I was checking the standings, and I couldn't see him. So I thought, okay, so maybe now I can actually battle for the win. And well, it didn't end up well.
Well, it looks like we've got some people double checking behind the scenes, and it does look like you will be the championship winner, even if it comes down to the drop weeks. And looking back at this season, Sebastian, is there any moments that really stick out to you that were just tons of fun?
Oh no, it was not ton of fun at all. It was I'm really happy that I checked that on my bucket list because when I moved to Singapore, I tried to be short. When I moved to Singapore, I stopped sim racing. I sold everything. And 2018, I got some serious issue. Beginning of 2018, and just after that, a very serious health issue. And when I recovered, I was watching YouTube, and I ended up on the Grand Prix Legend broadcast, and was like, man, that's what I want to do. And man, life is short, so I bought back all the sim racing equipment, like a folding chair, like put a DD wheel on a folding chair, and I drive this since 2018, mid 2018, and that was my goal, to win, then to do podium and win, and then the championship. So finally, like 5 years after, I finally get the championship. So it's mean a lot to me, really a lot. And next season it will be better because I will not think of the championships. I can drive like relieved, and it's done. I did it. My name is with on the Hall of Fame with Mick, with Ove, with Michel Dudognon. So I'm very happy about that.
A huge accomplishment indeed, and all of that work out there on the racetrack for years. Who do you have to say hi and thank you to?
Usually all the community, and more particularly with Michel Jean Claridge, because I don't know, we get along very well, and we always like have those little hot lap battles, and so it's very fun. And of course, shout out to also John and Rolly Roadbank, Togo, and my friend from my bros from Singapore, Gary Ho.
Well, Sebastian, go celebrate. You are the series champion.
Thanks.
I always love to see the emotions really come out in the drivers when they've achieved a very hard won victory. And speaking of which, Glenn Becker in the same position, but not, I think, how he expected to take this one. Glenn, congratulations. By our math, you are unofficially the F2 champion this season. But after you had that incident, did you start to worry, is it going to actually somehow slip through my fingers?
Absolutely. It's been an up and down season. It's certainly been an upward trajectory for me, but be nice if I could put some consistency together over the long term.
Well, and it's a wild season, this one. We had a lot of tracks that had never been seen in this series before. We finished on one that's, basically a toss-up on how the order is going to finish. So nobody knows, what the pecking order is going to be coming in. So does it feel like less or more of a championship knowing that you came out on top in something that had so much unpredictability?
Oh, absolutely. For me, it's huge. Right? I've been banging around at this series for a couple of seasons now, almost 2 years, and seeing some progress, but kind of got plateaued. And was able to do some coaching with Mick this season, which made all the difference. We had a blast doing it, and it improved my driving. So no, this is huge for me. I'm overjoyed right now. I kind of wish I'd gone out on a better race. 31st isn't how I wanted to finish it, but no, I'm really happy.
I can totally understand. We were having to crunch numbers to figure out, wait a minute, what does this mean? But so, okay, you've achieved the F2 championship. You said you're working with Mick. Have he and you talked about where do you go from here?
He's off riding, but he's got big plans, of course. He loves this series. He loves everything about it. And shout out to Mick, right? Just in the big picture, even as driven as he is personally to win and get faster, he just loves the series. He wants everybody to love the car and everybody to get faster. So he's got big plans. For me, really, I'm just going to opt into F1. See where we end up and go from there. Hopefully continue, get a little bit faster every day.
Well, I'm glad to see you being willing to try and step it up and see how you can face off with the big boys. Congratulations. Who do you want to thank for a championship?
Okay, well, quickly, I don't have all day. First, my dad, I started streaming during COVID for him, and just as a way to keep in touch from 500 miles away, and it's been a really, really fun time for both of us. So, Bill Becker watching in Hot Springs, North Carolina, thanks, Dad. We are lucky kids. Everybody says it, worth saying again, the community. This is a great place to spend time, and no matter what kind of buffoonery we get up to on track, they're always a welcoming bunch, so thank you for that. I think likewise, not very original, thanks to you guys. You guys do a fantastic job. The production value is amazing, and in fact, very briefly, you've actually changed at least one person's perspective of sim racing as a hobby. They kind of understand why I spend so much time doing it now, based on watching your broadcast, and that's a huge credit to you guys. Thank you for that. Real quick, Rolly Wallbank did delivery on my car. It's a smashing reproduction of the paint scheme on my airplane. I love it. Thanks, Rolly. And then finally to Mick. This one's for you, Mick. Cheers. Be safe on your ride. I'll see you when you get here.
That was Glenn Becker, who, as he said, in the 30s to finish this one up, but still your champion in the F2 series this season. And again, man, all the heartfelt emotions that we're getting on this one. Curious to see what the emotions are going to be for Ben Zocco, as Joey has caught up with our second place finisher in this race.
Ben, congratulations on coming home second. You were hanging out there kind of in the 4th, 5th, 6th spot, but I saw you hitting almost 220 miles an hour down the Mulsanne. How was that?
It's super fun. I love coming to Le Mans just for that reason. Just the super fast straights, 350 k's an hour for sure. It's all about the strategy. I'm not as fast as the guys that were up in that lead pack. They could pull a little bit on me at the first little part of the track, first few corners. And yeah, the strategy was always to just keep to the inside into the heavy braking zones, make some passes if I can, leave it to the last, couple laps to work my way through the pack, and yeah, position the car in the right spot each time. And I think the trick for this place is, if you want to win, you've got to be in the lead going into the Porsche curves, and I was really strong and braking into the Porsche curves. So the plan was to, whoever I was up against, to hopefully get a draft and get alongside, doesn't matter, inside, outside, into the Porsche curves and do that, kind of like what I did with Seb earlier in the race, except he was onto it and he took the inside and I backed out a bit too. But that didn't really ever happen because I didn't get a good enough exit and I couldn't stay close enough to Jim on that last lap, and I was like overcautious too. So sorry to John, who, when we went into Indianapolis, or the one before it, I broke probably a bit too much. I should have been up there closer to Jim as well, but it probably frightened John a bit. But yeah, it was enough to hold him to second. Really happy with that after having a season with lots of incidents that aren't my fault putting me back, which is uncharacteristic for me. Usually I have all the luck, like tonight, and can win where others fail.
Yeah, well, you took advantage of that placement on the racetrack out there, and I know this is the end of the season, and looking forward, we're going to see you back, and do you have anybody that you want to thank before letting you go?
Yeah, I'll be back for sure. Trying to bring some homeboys with me. So we'll see if there's some more Aussies on the track with me next season. So yeah, shout out to the whole community and yourselves for another really good season of racing. Lots of fun and excitement. So thanks everyone.
That was Ben Zoko coming home in the second place position here today.
Looks like we've got Cam Porter with a top 5, making up 15 positions with a spectacular one. Sorry that we won't be able to spend too much time on this, Cam, but I did want to get a chance to get your feelings on having to deal with that race and then picking them off at the end.
Well, that was a really thrilling race. I'll keep it brief. I was really thrilled at the beginning because I was able to avoid all that carnage, was able to hang with guys that are normally significantly faster than I was, and they all struggled, and I found myself alone near the end, and I thought maybe I could make up some spots because those guys ahead of me are fighting really close. And sure enough, there was an accident, and I saw myself catching Ove and Sebastian pretty quickly, and then in the Porsche curves, of course, maybe you caught it, Sebastian lost control. I had to quickly avoid, and then I lost a position to Richard Watson because of that. So I was so close to a 4th place. This is my highest finish ever in Grand Prix Legends broadcast race. So I am super over the moon. Thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate everything you do. Congratulations to Seb and Glenn for their championships.
I think this might put you 4th, potentially 3rd in the championship. I don't have the math down, but this is going to boost you up a lot. It's a great finish to the season there in the F2 standings. I mean, what's this make your goals for next year then? Because it seems like you're doing nothing but improving.
Yeah, I put in a little bit of extra practice for this race today. I've mentioned this before, I missed too many races in order to really go for a championship, I feel like. But just continue to improve, obviously, have good battles with, people on track, and just have fun. That's my ultimate goal, just have fun and enjoy the racing.
And apologies, I didn't realize I was actually looking at updated points. So you finished 5th in the championship with this good finish. Yeah, so top 5 there, sir. Congratulations, Cam, and can't wait to get to talk to you more.
Thanks a lot, guys. See you again.
That was Cam Porter with a top 5 here today, up 15 positions. One last one, and I know we're going a little long here, but we have to talk to Bill Tyler. Joey has caught up with 2nd in the points.
Yeah, Bill, I know that it's 2nd in the points, but not the day that you intended to have today. Talk to us about the season, though.
Yeah, today, not so great, but overall, I've had really good luck this season. Got my first win, so pretty happy about that. So overall, I'm really happy. This is the best I've ever done. So yeah.
Well, and you did hang on to that 2nd place in points. I'm looking 4 points over Jorge Nieva, so 2nd place ain't too bad here in the championship. Are we going to see you back next year?
Yeah, definitely. I'll always be coming back. It's really the only car I drive. I really enjoy it.
Well, Bill, I do. It's a bummer to see you kind of have the race that you had so early on today. But before I let you go, is there anybody that you want to say hi to or thank?
I just want to say congrats to Seb and Jorge. Seb was the man to beat all season, so congrats to him. Congrats to Glenn for the F2. I'd also like to say thanks to John, Jeff, Jerry, Isan, Steve, and anyone else that has put up the Sunday hosted sessions. Something that sort of started up, I don't know, a season or 2 ago, and basically every Sunday someone puts up a long 12-hour session for everyone to kind of get together and prepare for the next week. I think it's a really, really nice thing, so thanks to all you guys. And then good luck to Mick on his upcoming trip.
Well, that was Bill Tyler coming home 2nd place in the points championship this season, and not the day that he wanted, coming home 35th today at Le Mans.
Sometimes that's racing, and we saw the gamut of emotions today from the drivers. But we have to wrap it up as well with a big thank you to the Grand Prix Legends community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, along with a thank you to the team, Rob, Joey, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. But also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race will be Saturday, March 18th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Still learning what the schedule is going to be like on that, but we also have Camel GT's finale at noon Eastern here later today, so stick around for that. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.